are graphing sine and cosine functions. Yay! Tomorrow's Wednesday.
Is it really?
Yeah.
What day is it?
Today's Tuesday. So when we graph a sine or a cosine function, we want to follow these steps. We want to figure out the amplitude. Amplitude is the number out front. Okay. Then I want to find the values of x for the 5 key points. Key points are made up of the 3 x-intercepts, the maximum point, the minimum, and the minimum point. The way we figure it out is we just take our period of the graph and divide by 4. Then we want to find the values of y that, I lost my point. Oh, so we evaluate each of those 4 key points, 5 key points I meant. And then we connect our 5 key points with the curve, and then we extend it left or right if I need to go further. So, here's some properties of a sine graph. It has a domain of negative infinity to positive infinity because it goes left and right forever. The range is by default between -1 and 1. If I have an amplitude, so a number out front, it's going to make it go higher or lower. Shifts will also change this, so if it's a vertical shift, it'll move it up or down. The period of a graph is always 2 pi. It's how long it takes until it starts repeating the pattern. Then I can tell if it's even or odd if I look at my origin. So right here, if I folded this in half, those aren't going to match up right on the y-axis. But if it was shifted over and I had like the peak of a curve right here, just hit somewhere. If the peak of the curve was right here and I could fold it over and they'd match up perfectly, then it would be even. So here's the different kinds of transformations that can happen with trig functions. There's a horizontal transformation, translation I meant. It can move left or right, opposite the sign. And then vertical translations are outside of the function, and these ones are the same as the sign. Reflections, if it's on the outside, it flips it over the x-axis. If it's on the inside, it flips it over the y-axis. Stretches or shrinks, if they're horizontal, they're inside with the pi. If they are vertical, they're outside in front of the word. Okay, so this one wants me to start off by sketching this graph by hand on the interval -pi to 4 pi. So the first thing I want to do here is I want to figure out my amplitude. So what's the number out front? Two. Where do we get that 2 from? Okay, so I'm going to label my graph. I'm going to skip every other one and go 1 and 2. And then when I go down, it's going to be -1, -2. So then I want to find my key points. So remember how I told you a standard period is 2 pi? Because that's how long it takes to make a complete revolution around the circle. What I'm going to do for my key points is I'm going to take 2 pi and divide by 4. Because a graph breaks up into, like, if I'm looking back at the sine, there's like 4 distinct parts. There's like right here, here, and here.
So you're always going to divide it by pi?
Oh, you're always going to divide it by 4.
Or, yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah. Okay. So what is 2 pi divided by 4? Pi over 2. So the way I get my key points is I start at 0, unless I have a translation, which I don't this one. And then I'm going to keep adding pi halves until I have 5 points. So 0. What's the next one? Pi halves plus pi. Pi. Pi plus pi halves. And 3 pi halves plus pi halves. 2 pi. 4 pi halves. Okay. So this tells me how much I want to break up my counting by. I'm going to count by pi halves. This graph isn't going to fit. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is I want to evaluate these 5 points. So then I'm going to plug into the function. I'm going to have g of 0 equals 2 sine of 0. Yes, all this one problem. Yeah. Oh, no, that should just be a negative pi. This stuff is like modeling harmonic motion.
Modeling what?
Harmonic motion. Sound waves.
Who wants to do that?
What? I was able to tell you exactly where this is used.
She's literally just teaching the class.
Okay, so what is 2 times sine of 0? What is sine of 0? Okay, so 2 times 0 is?
0.
Okay, so I'm going to plot my first point at 0, 0. Does everyone understand how I got that first point? I plugged in 0, I got out 0. Okay, then I'm going to go do the same thing for pi halves. Okay, so 2 sine pi halves is 2. So when you're typing this in the calculator, you want to make sure you're in radians. Where is my... So if I'm on a new calculator, remember at the top it'll tell me. This one is currently in degrees, so I go mode. And then I scroll down to radians, press enter. If I'm on an older calculator, I just need to manually check. And then I type in 2 sine, and then I type in my pi halves, which gets me 2. Okay. So I want to go to pi halves and plot a point at 2. Then I'm going to do the same thing for pi. Which gives me, yep. Okay, then I'm going to type in 3 pi halves. Yes, otherwise, how am I going to know that you really plugged this in and didn't just graph it on the calculator? There's only 6 problems on the homework, though. No, this one's not 0.
I know,
Negative 2. What? I want to plug in 2 pi. And then I'll tell you what to do. So 2 pi gets us 0. Okay. But this wanted me to graph it from where to where. I wanted it between negative pi and positive 4 pi. So how do I get it to over here? I could, but since I have one complete cycle, because it goes up and down, I can just move the point, like I can copy the pattern. So after here, it should go down to negative 2, and then it should go back to 0. So like that. And then over here, it should go up, back to 0, down to negative 2, and then back to 2. Questions here? Okay, so on this one, again, we are going to graph it by hand. What's my amplitude here? Yep. So this means I want to be 1/3 tall. That sounded weird. Then I want to find my key points. So my period here is, because this is just a regular x, is going to be 2 pi again. Yeah, it's based on the x. So then to find my key points, I'm going to take the 2 pi. Yep, so these ones are going to be the same points we've been using. I start off at 0. Yes, there's only 6 problems. Okay, so then I want to go ahead and plug in Oh wait, I forgot to label my graph.
I don't know why I keep on writing it up here when it's going to be extended.
Me too. I don't know why I did that either, but I did. Okay, so when I type in 1/3 cosine of 0 in the calculator, I get
Sure, bro.
Yes, I am. 1/3. Yeah. Okay, then I want to do the same thing for pi half. Okay. Same thing for pi. What is it? Yep. Sakara, are you working on this?
Yeah, I already have all the points on the right side marked down.
Okay. Okay, so cosine 3, 1/3 cosine 3 pi halves.
So much to it. She's blocking my vision.
What value do I get? 0. And then I want to do 1/3 cosine 2 pi.
Hey, this one really goes out far. This means it's not really a block. Y-axis.
Even or odd? Then I don't know what you're talking about.
It starts on the origin and then
That's odd. Okay, so 1/3 cosine 2 pi. 1/3. So then I want to connect my points. And this one wants me to go to negative pi halves. So that one would go right here. And then it wants me to go all the way to 9 pi halves, which unfortunately I did not give us enough graph for. 7, 8, 9. So like that. Okay, so we're finishing off the notes. This one wants me to sketch the graph, but notice this time I have something with my x, right? So what I want to do is I'm going to take, to find my period, I'm going to take 2 pi, and then I'm going to divide by what is in front of the x. So what number is with the x? It's a fraction. 1/2. So I'm going to divide by 1/2 because this is really the same thing as 1/2 x. Okay. Yeah, I have it at that front desk up there in the corner next to the door.
facing her like this way.
It's right next to her on the right there.
What? Oh, that was the teacher.
Okay. So what is 2 pi divided by 1/2?
Pi.
No.
1.
No.
That's okay.
You can do it yourself. Right? Like, you got it. 3 pi. Can you grab me one? Please. I got Factor total is 9, 2, 6, 5, 4.
So
I know.
if I'm just dividing 2 by 1/2 on my calculator, it should give me 4. Okay, so what I want to do is, I got 4. Guys, write it down. So then, to find my key points, I'm going to take my period, which is now 4 pi, and then I'm going to divide by 4, because remember we always take our period and divide by 4 to find our key points. So this gets me what for my pi? So I always start at 0, so it's going to go 0, pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, 4 pi. And then, oh, I forgot my amplitude. What's my amplitude here? 1. So I'm going to go up 1 and down 1 for my y-axis. Okay. And then my key points are what I'm going to use to label my x-axis. So this is going to be pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, 4 pi. And then I need to go backwards to negative pi. Based on this interval it wanted me to graph. And then I just want to go ahead and plug these values in for sine. So I'm going to have sine of 0 divided by 2. So what does that get us? Okay. Then I'm going to plot that at 0, 0, because I plugged in 0 and I got out 0. Then I'm going to do the same thing for pi. So I have sine of pi divided by 2, which gets me, then I'm going to do sine of 2 pi divided by 2. Zero. Sine of 3 pi divided by 2. Negative 1. And sine of 4 pi divided by 2. So that when the calculator is giving you something with an e, it's just really, it's trying to approximate the answer and it's just doing a really bad job. If it gives you the e, it means 0. Okay, so then I want to go ahead and connect my points. And then this one wanted me to go all the way back to negative pi, so I'm just going to go 1 point back, which is negative 1, and connect that. Questions here? So this one I just changed the period.